This season of On the Wind is presented by our friends at Forbes Yachts. They can help you buy your dream boat or sell your current one, two of the happiest days in any boat owner's life. And Forbes and his wife Jamie have also been guests on this very podcast. Check out episode 332 to hear about them cruising the Bahamas in a lobster boat with their two kids. Forbes has given many of us at 59 North advice on buying our own boats. He helped me scope out my Navy 44 and is a great resource for all things boat market. He's a buyer's broker for any boat that you have your eye on, so you can get in touch with him about buying a boat, even if it's not his listing. Go to ForbesYachts.com to browse their current and past yacht listings and to find your dream boat. That's ForbesYachts.com. This season of On the Wind is also presented by SailTies. SailTies is a free app that makes it easy to record all your sailing experience in one place. A digital record of all your voyages, certificates, crew, vessels, and clubs. No more adding up miles in a paper book that can be easily lost, or in my case, several different notes in the Notes app on my phone. With just 2 taps, SailTies also generates a beautiful memory of each trip that is fun to share with family and friends. The app runs in the background without internet connection and uses very little battery. SailTies is free to use with an optional SailTies Plus subscription to unlock even more from your voyages, including automatic historic weather data and grouping your voyages into collections. You can go to sailties.net or look up SailTies in the App Store on your phone. That's SailTies, SailTies.
You're listening to On the Wind, the podcast about sailing. I'm your host, Emma Garshagen.
Lauren Topchik is a sailor who I met when I moved to Portland, Maine. She's an experienced boat owner and she works in the marine industry as the community manager at Dockwa. Lauren has lived aboard in Maine in both summer and winter seasons. She has a contagious adoration for sailing and cruising and is passionate about lifting up other sailors in her community. We talked about how she got into cruising and what her upcoming sailing dreams are. We're sitting in my kitchen, which is really fun. I feel like I never do interviews at home, but now that I have a home, I get to do that, which is really cool. And often we do an interview on someone's boat, but it's November in Maine, so yeah, that's less of a...
Not too much going on out in the water today.
No, exactly. It's super windy today too. Could you just introduce yourself and say how do you introduce yourself to people when you meet them in the world?
Honestly, great question. Hi, I'm Lauren. I live in Maine and absolutely love living here. Spend most of my time on or around the water in some way, shape, or form. So excited to be here.
What is your first sailing memory?
I think I have to start with just boating in general. I grew up power boating with my family. Was born in New York, and up until we moved to Maine, I would literally drive up with my family every single weekend, 5.5 hours to our power boat, which we kept right here in South Portland. So I definitely grew up power boating more than sailing, but definitely just exposing myself to the coast and the lifestyle, which I've grown to love so much.
How old were you when you guys moved here full time?
I was going into 2nd grade.
Oh, you were little.
Yeah, I was little for sure. And we, immediately jumped into the cruising community here. Mm-hmm. We lived in Scarborough, so a couple towns over. And yeah.
And then when did sailing start for you?
So I started working at our local yacht club in South Portland when I was 17, driving the launch, and working there just really exposed me to a whole new realm of life. I would meet cruisers that would come in from all over the world, and they would tell me their stories. They would invite me on for drinks and dinner, and I would just listen in awe of the lifestyle they were living. Totally fell in love with it, got super excited and inspired about all things sailing. Started jumping on, boats for Wednesday night races, and honestly, anyone that would invite me onto their boat for a sail was like an absolute hero.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of snowballed from there until I became a boat owner myself.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't realize. I kind of assumed that your dad had a sailboat like growing up because he has one now.
Yeah, that's not the case at all. Actually.
Who got a boat first?
So my mom, this is a great story, but let me back up and say that my mom actually introduced my dad to sailing and the whole realm of boating and the coast of Maine. My dad grew up in New Jersey, landlocked. My mom grew up sailing on the coast of Maine. So they met in college, and, my dad totally latched on to the lifestyle similarly to how I have. But a lot of people think that like he got me into it, and he definitely plays a huge role in that. But I have to give my mom the credit, That's she cool. She really started the family out on that track.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Who got a boat first, or who got a sailboat first?
Between my dad and I?
Yeah.
So this is a great story. I love it so much because it just makes me feel really great. I got the sailboat first. And it's a great story. I feel like I can't jump into much more about boat ownership without telling the Cita story.
Yeah.
Which is the story of how I got my first boat before my dad got his boat. So back in, I think it was 2019, I had been working at the yacht club for 2 or 3 years at that point. Like I mentioned, super inspired by the people I met, and I just had totally been bitten by the sailing bug. Obsessed is an understatement. And I kind of schemed up this very well-known mentality at the club where I really developed a dream to cruise full time and jump into that. And word got around quickly. Everyone knew that I had been bitten by the sailing bug and wanted to be exposed in any way I could. As this word on the street got around, a colleague of someone at the club heard about that passion and just the total obsession I had developed, and had an old sailboat sitting in his backyard. He heard about me through his colleague and my friend from the club, and decided to gift me the boat. It was an old O'Day 25, so simple, so funny. I used to always say it was never the most beautiful boat in the harbor, but it was always the cutest. It was so cute. I just loved it so much. Yeah. So he gifted me that boat, and all of a sudden became a boat owner at 19. And was
awesome.
Here we go, I guess. And it was just the biggest gift because it taught me so much about boat ownership, and just allowed me to open the doors and kickstart this dream that I had been scheming in the depths of my mind for so long. So that gift was really the start of my story as a boat owner. And it was named Cita, which is kind of a Spanish idiom for little one or something like that. So it was the little boat.
Yeah.
And when my dad bought his big boat a couple years later, keyword later, he named it Mama Cita.
I love that.
So
I figured that Mama Cita would have had to come after.
After
Cita.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And, the name has some meaning to me. But long story short, we definitely have played into that bit a little bit of Mama Cita and Cita.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. And then how quickly after getting the boat at 19 did you start living aboard and sailing a lot? How was that process?
So it was really an interesting time in my life because I was in college. It was the summer after my freshman year of college that I was gifted Cita, and immediately during the summers here in Maine, I moved aboard and like totally embraced it. So instead of going home to my parents in the summer, I just like drove my car up from college and like hopped in the boat, and that was it. So my summers were spent on Cita. I think I did 4 full summers aboard that little O'Day 25.
That's awesome.
With very few amenities, let alone standing headroom. But I just loved it so much, and living aboard allowed me to like really lean into the lifestyle that I had been hearing from people at the club that I wanted so badly. And like, even though the boat was a little O'Day 25, I was like, perfect, that's all I need.
How did the reality match up to like what you'd been dreaming about?
Oh my gosh, I was like in absolute heaven. Like, I loved it so much, and like there's a reason I kept going back year after year. And I mean, I think it just became like part of who I was and who I am. But living aboard Cita was just magical. No regrets. No complaints.
I love that. And then like, how was your learning curve? Like when you got Cita, did you feel like you knew how to sail at that point and you were like ready to go? Did it feel like a huge jump? Like looking back from where you are now, like what do you think of that
question.
time?
I think like looking back, I'm so thankful for the boat it was, because it was so simple. It was the perfect first boat for a brand new boat owner, a young boat owner, someone that had, you know, a lifetime of boating experience, but nothing very intentional, I would say. And it gave me a platform to gain confidence on the water with a simple boat that I slowly learned to take care of. And also like confidence as myself and as a captain in a little boat. So I think that like, of course there's so many lessons learned through boat ownership, and that's like a lifetime commitment, but it really was a platform that allowed me to learn at a fair pace and also gain confidence that I needed to like go into the next phase of cruising.
Totally. I forgot to say this when you first were talking about Cita, but I had like a very similar experience with my first boat, which I named Pip, which is like also like
That's the cutest name.
A little thing. And it was a CNC 24 that had like nothing in it. It had sails and that was it. I like got a little outboard for it and someone gave it to me. I like found it in the back of a boatyard, called the guy because the marina was like, he hasn't been here in years. And
You're like,
he was like, you're right. I can't take care of it anymore. Like, take it. So I got a free boat when I was 19. Yep. That was my like, I should have lived aboard, honestly, but it was
I don't know if we've ever talked about that.
No.
I can't, that's such like a wild small world story.
I know.
But also there's so many of these old boats like sitting around in people's backyards, just like not getting the love they deserve. So I think it's really special that, you know, it's like almost a way for people to like pass it on to the next generation.
Totally.
And uplift new cruisers. So
yeah. And I think it's like a way that like we both were in the boating world enough that someone knew that you wanted a boat, or that I knew that like boats got abandoned in the back of boatyards. Right. And so we were like clued in enough that we're like in the right place at the right time, because I feel like it's like a secret that shouldn't be a secret, that there are all these like free boats out there that like someone who doesn't have that much money and just wants to like try it out and learn on like a simple little boat can totally get if they just like tell people in town that they're looking for a boat or whatever 100%.
It is. No, it was such a crazy experience for me. Like, I know that the family that gave me the boat knew they were like, they knew that it was an act of kindness to pass it on, but I don't think they knew like how deeply influential that was in my life, because without that, I never would have had the opportunity to learn how to be a boat owner at that simple stage. And like, I wouldn't have gained the confidence to take the next steps in many aspects of sailing. So
I want to ask you about like how you got from Cita to Maui, your current boat. But also like, also then sort of like, what was the process of like finding the next boat And then what happened to Cita after you found the next boat?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I spent 4 summers aboard Cita. My final summer was the summer after I graduated college. So I came home to Cita, had a wonderful summer. We sailed her, 70 miles up to Penobscot Bay from here in Casco Bay. And like, that was such a monumental trip for me because, up until then we'd really only, weekend cruise the boat here and there. And of course I was living aboard, but I wasn't making like the bigger jumps. And I think I didn't know it during that trip that it was going to be my last season with Cita, but it just felt like the end of a chapter in a way. It wasn't explainable at the time. And then even I remember my last sail of the season, I was with my partner Jack, and I looked at him and I was like, why am I emotional? I was like, what? I love sailing so much and I'm always sad at the end of the season, but I just had a gut feeling that it was my last season with her. And then, I put her away for the winter, all covered and everything. And I just started getting the itch a little bit to look around. So I kind of zeroed in on older boats built in the 60s, good bones, maybe needed a lot of cosmetic help, but who doesn't love that? That's satisfying work.
You're I really want to paint a whole boat.
Yeah, perfect. Sign me up, literally. But I saw a bunch of boats built in the 60s and I knew to trust my gut, and I did. And when I saw Maui for the first time, I knew it was right. Price was right. She had great bones, needed some help, but the structure was there. And that's what mattered to me. That's where my budget was at. Yeah. And that's why I zeroed in on thick boats from the 60s. I replaced my through hulls this year and literally the hull was 2 inches thick.
Yeah.
It's maybe crazy. More. I was all right, sick.
Can you say what kind of boat she is?
Yeah, so Maui is a Allberg 35 built in 1967. She is absolutely beautiful and sails a total dream. Very quirky boat, but again, the next step of boat ownership is a few more systems. And I never really felt completely over my head with her, and I like awesome. The simplicity about her systems because I had Cita, which had nothing really, to be honest. What did it have?
Did it have an outboard?
It had an outboard, yeah. So that was simple.
Right, you've graduated to marine diesel.
Yeah, exactly.
Drama.
That exactly. It's just a nice next step. I have a working head and a diesel engine and a hot water tank. Yeah. And but the best of all is I have standing headroom. Yeah. And you know what?
When you live for 4 summers crouched over and you were maybe young enough that your back didn't mind, but you can't do that forever.
Exactly. So it's the perfect next boat for me. I love her so much. We've had the most amazing times on that boat, and again, it's always a learning experience, but it's the labor of love. So
when you got Maui, what happened to Cita?
Oh, right. That was part of the question. I love this story so much because it obviously meant so much to me, the Cita story. And again, it was the most impactful time of my life. Being gifted that boat and really taking advantage of it. I wasn't just cool. This is fun. I was no, this is my entire personality and will be in every single thought in my head.
You made the Instagram account.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So when I decided to upgrade to Maui, I was really in a moral dilemma about what to do with Cita. I kind of got the word out casually that she was looking for a new home, and I was really hoping to find someone else that I could see myself in, I guess.
Yeah, and pass it on.
Yeah, exactly. But I just never really, found anyone that was stoked on it. And then I got a call. I think I missed the call, but it was from the guy who gave me the boat 4 years ago. ago at that time. And he gave me a call and he said, Lauren, I saw that you're passing Cita on. We really miss it. Like, would you consider selling it back to us?
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
and you're
are
like,
you
yes,
kidding
for
me?
$1 million.
I was like, yeah, sure. Let's get your checkbook out. No, like, I was so excited to give that boat back to that family who had been following along with the adventures that I had had on the boat and the upgrades that I, put into the boat. And I could not have been happier to send it right back where it came from.
Yeah,
like,
that's so
it felt
cool.
like I borrowed the boat for 4 years, gave it the love it deserved, learned a lot, and then like brought it back.
That's
like,
so full circle. Like you can't make that up.
Full circle. So full circle. And like just so, it's just like a beautiful story in my eyes. Like, I don't know. It just means a lot.
Yeah, that's really sweet. I think that's like, I remember you telling me that story like a few months ago, and I was like, I have to make you tell that. So then you stepped up from Cita to Maui, and you've had Maui for how many years now?
2 full summer seasons in Maine. So I think I bought it in like February of 2022. Just math that up there. I think that's right.
Yeah.
So 2 full summers in Maine. The first season was chaotic.
In what way? Like what was...
in a good way. Just learning a new boat. And again, like taking that next step onto something a little bit more complex, yet still so simple. Learning every system and just feeling like a slight sense of overwhelmedness.
Yeah,
of, like,
of course.
Oh, things are breaking like as I'm learning. So like you just have to remind yourself that like you have to learn some way.
Yeah.
And like every lesson, of course, is so important because like the goals are to sail and cruise full time. And so like you have to learn. Yeah. And I've learned so much through Maui. So the first summer was just a lot of that. Learning the quirks, not just things breaking, but like every boat has its own like mind, a mind of its own, Yeah. So it was a good season. And then, this past summer, it's just like everything fell into place. Like I felt like I had my feet underneath me. I had done the work to get the boat where I wanted it to be. And we just had the best summer of sailing ever. Like it felt like magic. Which, again, like last season we also had kind of bad weather here in Maine. So it kind of was like a good summer to learn the quirks and all that. But this summer it was sunny every weekend. The wind was blowing and we just like, it was just magical. It really was.
That's so, I'm so impressed all the time when I hang out with you by like your general positivity. Like, have you always been like that? Or is that like I mean, like, were you a kid who was just like, yeah, let's go. This is all great.
I think so. I mean, I just feel really lucky to like have grown up in Maine and to have been exposed to the water so young. And like, at the end of the day, I just truly love being outside. And like, and then when you have your own platform to go be outside and like explore the nooks and crannies that aren't as accessible to, the people without those platforms, you just feel extra lucky. You're like, oh my gosh, like I get to do what I love and like on this boat that I'm proud of. That has the ability to take me so many places. Like, how can you not be like stoked on life? I'm still impressed by it. I think not everyone has that attitude, and it's like, it's so nice to like be around that attitude with you. I'm always like, oh yeah, more of that. Like, just all right. I mean, fair enough. Like,
when you're having like, I don't know, I'm curious if there's like a story or a memory you have from this summer where you were just like, this is where I'm meant to be. Like I'm doing the thing I love. Like was there a day you can describe or a moment that was like that?
For sure. I mean, I think there's so many moments, but anytime I'm able to be off the grid is like what I thrive off of. Like when we are sailing And at this point in my life, like, I don't have the gift of time on my side. Like, anytime I'm sailing, I am so thankful for that time. And like, when I take a vacation, that's my vacation. Like, I can't just like push it to next week, and like, I'm just not there yet. And so when we do take time to like go and sail, and we can spend it completely off the grid, like, those are the moments that stick with me, because it just feels like so peaceful and lovely. And like, and then you think back and it's so satisfying, because you're like, I just got myself here through not just 10 hours of sailing, but like through hours and hours and hours of hard work and research. And like, I don't know. It's such the labor of love in all ways, because you're able to like work so hard and then like really like benefit from your hard work.
Yeah.
So
No, it's like a really obvious, like,
it's so satisfying.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, you sweat and like crammed yourself into like a weird position to get into some part of the boat. Like, you had that, you like had the stress of stuff breaking. And then when you like get to the end, you're like, oh, I really earned this. Like, I didn't just like,
I'm self-sufficient.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
I earned it. I worked hard for it. I'm alone in this anchorage.
Yeah.
The sun is setting. Like, let me set the picture here.
Yeah, wait, I actually do want you to like set up, like, paint the picture of like
the coast of Maine.
Yeah, or just like, is there like a, like, I want like a day, like a specific day, if you have it, like, if you can think, it doesn't have to be like the perfect day or whatever, but like, was there a day this summer where you were having that kind of moment and you can like describe it?
For sure. I think, well, oh my gosh, there's like so many like lead ups to the day that you're like, well, I should tell that detail, but like, I guess I won't. We woke up one morning in Perry's Creek, which I know you've been there with Seabird.
I went there, I think after you recommended it. It's so dreamy.
So beautiful. It's just so stunning. And it's a total hurricane hole in there, which is why we went. There were some big winds the night before, and we had different plans, but of course no plans ever work out the way you expect. Yeah. So we ended up in Perry's Creek, woke up, beautiful morning, like perfect. The weather had rolled through. We were in the Fox Island thoroughfare, you know, like ready to push off to the next destination. And Jack and I decided to check out a new spot that neither of us have ever been. This is all in Penobscot Bay, which is, just like side note, the most beautiful cruising ground I've ever been to. Like, I just love it so much. Yeah. So we push off from Perry's Creek, and I think it was probably blowing like 15 knots from like the southwest or something. Like, we had a great downwind run towards like the east side of the thoroughfare. And we were going to sail around these islands and like kind of tack back up through the wind to get to this anchorage. But there was this tiny little cut between these two islands to get to the anchorage we were going to. And we were like, oh, we should do it. Like, ha ha ha. Like, let's just sail through it. Like, kind of joking. And then I was like, wait, let's do it.
Yeah, like we can.
We can. Like, not only is the wind perfect, which is such a gift, but like, why not? Like, let's start the day off right. So we go down to this little cut. At its shallowest spot, it was probably like on the chart, like 8 feet. So like, we're like, like LOL. Yeah. Our 5.5 foot draft can like totally make that. Yeah. Which did. Just to like take the worry away from anybody. And so we're sailing downwind towards this cut. It's probably like 30 feet wide.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That must, yeah.
So like,
it like feels like you could touch the banks on either side.
It feels like you can touch. And we jibed at like the apex of the shallow spot, like on purpose, obviously. Like, we were like, okay, let's go. Yeah. And it was just like one of those scenarios where like, yeah, you're kind of on the edge of your seat, but we knew we could do it.
That's so cool.
We had like looked into it extensively, and we were like, why not? The wind's perfect. The tide's incoming. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, if we mess this up, the tide will lift us off.
But we jived.
I love that.
And we were able to just like perfectly maneuver this narrow area and get to our anchorage. Oh my gosh, this is just the beginning of like my best day ever. Yeah. Like, it was just so magical from there. We anchored. we hiked up to this huge field that was on top of like a pretty elevated island.
Oh yeah, you sent me
Maine.
a picture of that. It looked crazy.
It's beautiful. And you're overlooking Penobscot Bay. You have the Camden Hills in the background. And Jack had surprised me with a kite.
Oh,
and he
cute.
like pulls out a kite from his back pocket. And we flew a kite. And I literally was
You're
like
short circuiting.
No, I was like, this is the dream. Like, I'm off the grid. The wind was we just jived through a 30-foot like little pass, and now we're flying a kite. Like, how much better can this get?
Yeah, that week was beautiful. I was sailing up to Penobscot Bay, and we like sailed past each other, but like couldn't really tell. Yeah, we were.
No, I remember seeing you on the horizon, and I was like, I know that seabird.
Yeah, you were right. And we had two boats on the horizon. And we eventually figured out which one was you. But we were sailing up the coast in those southwesterlies, and you were like starting to head back. But yeah, it was like a really pretty week.
It was such a good week.
It was like the first week of September. It was like perfect. Yeah.
We have traditionally taken that week off work, and like, so it's been the third year Jack and I have done it together, and we have gotten more and more lucky each year. Like last year we had great weather, but like it was sunny all week, but we had no wind. This year we used less than 5 gallons of diesel the entire week, and we, sailed 200 miles.
So cool.
Oh, we just felt so lucky. It was like the just perfect week. I think about it like every single day.
Oh, that's good. That's fuel to get you through this winter.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Oh man, I had like a few things to say to that. I like don't want to bring this up, but I'm going to. I know what the answer to this is, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but what was the hardest part of this summer or this sailing season?
Well, there's always new challenges that you find yourself in. I was in a little bit of an accident that was completely out of my control, which almost makes it harder.
Yeah.
So the future of Maui is a little unknown at the moment. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Do you want to say what happened, or do you want me to say what happened?
Well,
or do you not want to talk about it?
I can just sum it up by saying, like, during haul out, there was a big land-based accident that unfortunately, like, really damaged the boat.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into the details because, like, many parties involved,
right,
and small world, and all that jazz.
And you're in like an insurance
right, I am
question mark time. So,
I am.
Yeah,
we love a good insurance question mark time.
Yeah.
But guys, to anyone listening, manifest for me because I need it.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So all we'll say is that an accident happened. The boat needs some repairs, and we'll see.
Yeah. Land-based accident.
Yeah.
Out of my control.
Yeah.
Lots of parties involved that I don't want to exploit.
Yep. Totally.
On the internet.
Yeah.
And like, cross your fingers.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're hoping for you. And based on your, I don't know, what you've made happen so far in your sailing life and like your general attitude about the world, I feel like you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to like put out the good energy.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But I'm sure that's hard sometimes. What, like, we can just, you will figure out what's next with Maui. But like, let's say it's like the beginning of next summer. What do you imagine like your next summer and like maybe the next couple years of your sailing, cruising life looking like?
It's a great question. I think like ever since I schemed up this like dream of mine to sail in a more like full term, or like I should say full-time capacity, it's always been the dream to go south. And like when I bought Maui, it was the platform to do that on. So over the last 2 summers and 2 seasons, I've really been working on getting the boat in a place to do that. And who knows what happens with Maui over the next year with this insurance drama and the accident. But I would love, and the plan was to be sailing south this time next fall.
Yeah.
So like that is on my mind, and like it's not out of the picture. I think that like we have insurance for a reason, and like like hopefully the boat can be fixed from this accident. But like I should restart like without all of that and just say like, hopefully this time next fall, I'll be sailing south on Maui. And I would just like love nothing more. And I think that like there's a reason I bought the boat and like I've been working so hard on it.
Yeah.
And there's more to do, of course. There always is. But like there comes a time where you just have to go for it.
Yeah.
And this has been on my mind since I was 17. And like it's like if I don't do it now, then like when will I? So yeah, we'll see.
That's exciting.
TBD.
Yeah, let's say that the boat is ready to go. It's next fall. The boat's ready to go. Maybe you have a situation where your job lets you go, or you can keep your job, whatever.
Right.
Like that's all set. Do you feel like you're like, you feel ready and you would just go?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's always scary to like take the leap, especially when you hype something up in your mind so much for so long. And like, I think we've all been there in one way or another when you like put the pressure on yourself and then like, you're like, whoa, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
But also I felt that way before and I don't feel that way now. I feel like I'm ready to go. I love my summers in Maine so much. And like, I just think that having one more summer in Maine and then sailing south would just be like perfect for me in terms of timing. And like the hardest part would probably be leaving like the people I love. Yeah. But it's not permanent, you know?
Yeah. Do you have like in a dream world, like an idea of how long you would go for and where you would go?
Yeah.
Like,
I used to say like, I want to go everywhere, but I just like over the last couple of years, I've learned to just like take away that pressure of it. And I think that there's a lot of like beauty in just going for it and like seeing what you love. Like I want to start out by, you know, sailing south and, you know, seeing the Bahamas and the Caribbean. I've never been to the Bahamas. Like I've done some sailing in the Caribbean, but like that's kind of step one. I'm there. Do I love it? I hope. Like I would guess. I would guess I love it. But like who knows from there, right? Like maybe keep the boat, you know, down there for a couple of seasons and like really get into the nooks and crannies of that area and then decide what's next.
Yeah. How did you learn to do that, to like take the pressure off yourself by not being like, I have to do this and then this?
Probably from it like biting me in the butt a couple too many times, being like, why am I so stressed out? Because like I'm setting these crazy expectations for myself. And like, it's not even about the outside forces for me.
Yeah.
Like
I get that.
I just like hype things up in my mind a lot about these plans. And so like over the last couple of years, I would say like before I got Maui, I learned to just like nothing in life, let alone cruising, is consistent.
Yeah.
Like it's the most dynamic thing you could do. Like everything is always up in the air in some way, you know what I mean?
Right. So being like, I need to sail this many miles or get to this place by this day
like,
is like,
come on now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I feel like that takes some people never learn that, or so, you know, like that's great that you figured it out.
It's pretty quick to like, I feel like you got to figure it out or else you're not going to have fun.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
that's the key to the operation. It's just like remaining dynamic and flexible. And like, it's great to have big goals and dreams, but like only if you're having fun doing it. So that's where I'm at.
But do you want to say like what you do for work?
Yeah.
Because it is like you work in the marine industry, but you don't work like as a sailor for a living.
Right.
Which I think is very smart of you. I think it's what's letting you have all these like awesome sailing vacations. So yeah, do you want to talk a little about what you do?
Yeah, totally. And like, honestly, my work has been such a gift to my personal life in a way. And I know a lot of sailors that like sail for work experience an aspect of burnout, like on the water. And for me, my like sailing experiences are too precious to like let that creep in. And who knows like where I'll be. And like, maybe I will one day work more, you know, physically on the water. But for now, I'm really happy with where I'm at. I work for a company called Dockwa, which cruisers have probably heard of. It's a tech startup. So we build a software that, you know, really focuses on connecting marinas with boaters and boaters with marinas and also boaters with boaters. So, you know, my role particularly focuses on boater connectivity, which I absolutely love. I'm in marketing, but my role really centers on organic storytelling and uplifting the community and inspiring the community through those stories, like they did for me, you know? Like when I was working at the yacht club, hearing people's stories, that's how I ended up where I am. So it's really cool to lean into that. I lean into my own personal experiences all the time. I tell other people's stories. I listen to other people's stories, and I just meet boaters from all over the world. It's so wonderful and lovely and makes my heart happy.
Oh, I've been loving, I like follow your, or like I'm subscribed to your like newsletter that you have. And it's so fun reading like your own stories about like, I think there was one about installing solar on your boat, which was like this technical article. And then there's like blogs about sailing trips you've done. And like this article about you like living aboard over the winter on your dad's boat. Like, but then, you like boost other people's stories. It seems like you get to like write a lot and like, it seems really cool.
It's just such a great way to connect. And like what I think is really special about boaters is everyone wants to share. Mm-hmm. They want to uplift the next generation. They want to share tips and tricks and experiences. And they also want to listen to them. Like it's such a unique community where like I feel lucky to be able to have that platform through work to reach out and potentially make an impact while also doing my job, obviously, and like spreading brand awareness and brand loyalty. It's really great. And one more thing I'll say about Dockwa is I absolutely love the people I work with. I think it's a really cool group because so many of the people working on these tools and these products that you download onto your smartphone are boaters and former marina operators. And it's just a very special group that's come together to build something for the industry that all can pull on their own personal experiences and all have the mentality of, you know, that I see at work every day of like wanting to learn more from other people, like wanting to absorb different stories and experiences and just like, it's just a very open-minded community of people that share that same passion. So it's great.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I ended up using Dockwa a ton this summer. Like booking, it was so nice, like as a business owner to be able to like book a marina or like book a mooring ahead of time and know that when I got there, I was going to have a mooring and just like have that like out of my head. And then like we would anchor in like a like secluded like Maine picturesque anchorage one night and then like go and pick up a mooring and like get blueberry muffins at Dolphin Marina in Harpswell you know the next day and like it was fun to like I hadn't really interacted with the app before and then suddenly it was like in my favorites on my phone.
It's really cool and like I do think that in general for work, if you don't find something that you can like relate to in some way, whether you're like feet on the ground sailing or working for a tech company, but like centered around the things you love, like how can you really do your job well? Yeah,
to know. And you like I mean, especially you as like the marketing person there, like you obviously love it and are on the ground doing it. And it makes it so much more. I mean, I find that for this podcast that like I'm a much better interviewer when I am and because I am like out there doing it too. Like we sailed past each other this summer and like, you know, or like you came out and like helped haul me up the rig on my boat. Like there's all these, it like makes it a lot more real.
The community is special in general. And I think like working for Dockwa has made me like realize that even more. So I really love it. And it's been fun to, you know, bridge the gap between work and my personal life when I am visiting marinas that use Dockwa.
You can have like little work trips, but also you're sailing your boat.
Like this summer Dockwa sponsored the Camden Classics, which is a like annual regatta up in Camden hosted by Lyman Morris, and Lyman Morris are our marina partners.
Oh, awesome.
So we decided to sponsor and I said, I have an idea.
Let me sail my boat up to Camden.
So we did.
That's awesome.
My sister and I did the first leg. We stopped at a couple marinas. I had a couple friends join us in Booth Bay. And we stopped at different Dockwa marinas on the way up, met their teams, shared our experiences online for other boaters to learn from, kind of uplifting these businesses. And then we were at Lyman Morse for the event,
That's awesome.
right in the thick of all the action. So it was a really cool way to I don't know. It was so satisfying to bring the work I do on my computer from day to day, out into the field and meet real people that we're working with and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so,
that must have been really nice.
So wonderful.
Well, I do feel like, I don't know, it's so fun hearing other people's stories. And this is probably, when you were driving the launch and hearing other people's stories, I feel like all of that is information that lets other people imagine what their future could be like even just hearing you're a high school or college kid driving a launch, and then you get given a boat because you met the right person, and then you give the boat back to them because you got your next boat, and then you're working towards this goal of going south. And I think and you found this job that somehow meshes your interests while still giving you freedom to go do the thing that you care about. So I think it sounds I don't know, I feel when I think about my own life, it feels like this crazy scattered thing that's totally nonlinear. But then when you tell it all out in one thing, sense. You're oh, of course you are where you are right now. And you got yourself there, which is so cool.
It's just so crazy to think that if I never got the job at Centerboard, the yacht club, driving the launch, where would I be? I who knows where I would have been. That really, yes, I grew up on the water and loved boating, but that is what exposed me to the life I wanted to live.
Yeah. And meeting people who are doing something that you were oh, that's possible. And you grew up around sailing and around boating in different ways. But until you see someone who's doing the thing that you're oh, that, I want that.
Totally.
Which is so special.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And I just think at the end of the day, it really comes down to the community uplifting the next generation, because I have learned so much through not just my peers, but the older generation that has really opened their arms to help me. From everything from doing oil changes on the launch boats to bringing me out on offshore passages and having those experiences and feeling so comfortable in those experiences because of the people around me. So I don't know. It's just a big group effort out here. I think
it is. No, it totally is. And I think that's I don't know. Yeah. I think that's a big thing that has made it possible for me to be in the sailing world in the capacity for all of us. And just the way that I don't know, even just this summer, you and I knew about you because of that video you did with your friend years ago when you guys had Cita, and you were we're gonna go off cruising and sail around the world, which what's so cool about it is it captured you in this moment in your life where you were on the path to where you are now, and it doesn't mean you're never gonna maybe you will still sail around the world, maybe you're gonna go cruising to the Caribbean, and who knows where it's gonna go,
but that's the beauty of it.
Exactly. And and I've had the sail around the world dream, and and still have it in different ways, and these things all evolve. And so I think it is so special to see people at different phases of their journey, and there's a community out here. And then I moved to Portland and get to actually become friends with you. And then you come out and have helped me out so much this summer just by giving me dinghy rides and and just being part of the sailing community here and bringing me into it. So I think it is all connected.
It's all connected for sure. It's really interesting.
I like to ask at the end, if there's something that you recommend to people, and people take this question differently. Some people are read this book, or be nice to each other, or people take it from anywhere from something you should listen to or read or watch, or a way to live your life. Do you have anything you feel you've learned?
I mean, we touched on it a little bit already, a lot of it already. Just lean into community, because that's what I did. And like I said, there's no way I'd be leading the life I do without the people around me, that have inspired me, that have taught me, that have become my friends. And I just think that's really important in the industry in general.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I feel so lucky to now be in Maine and in this place that like has a real sailing community in a way that my sailing community has been like scattered around the globe, and that's really special. But being in a place that has it is so cool, and you're such a big part of that here, I feel like. So
Wow. Thanks, Emma.
Thanks for talking to me.
This was a blast.
Yeah, I know. It was so fun. Thanks again to Forbes Yachts for presenting this season of On the Wind. Go to ForbesYachts.com to find your dream boat today. That's ForbesYachts.com. Thanks again to Sail Ties for presenting this season of On the Wind. You can go to sailties.net or look up Sail Ties in the App Store to start recording your sailing experiences all in one place. Sailties.net. On the Wind is the podcast about sailing, created by 59 Degrees North and hosted by me, Emma Garshagen, August Sandberg, and Andy Schell. The show is mixed and produced in Maryland by Lee Cumberland. Episode artwork and website show notes are done by Laura Parent in San Francisco. The intro theme music was written and performed by former podcast guest Cameron Dale. And the outro music that you're hearing now is by our friends at Stormweather Shanty Choir, who have also been on the show. We love hearing from you, so please send us a note at holdfast@59-north.com. And you can also help us out a lot by reviewing the show on iTunes. It really does help. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, hold fast.
And when me money was all gone on liquor and the horse, I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. As I was walking down the street, I met sweet Angeline. She said, come home with me, me lad, and we'll have a cracking time. But when I awoke, it was no joke. I found I was all alone. My silver watch and my money too, and my whole bloody gear was gone. Was gone, was gone. My whole bloody gear was gone. It was when I awoke, it was no joke, for my whole bloody gear was gone. As I was walking down the street, I met Big Rapper Brown. I asked him if he would take me in, and he looked at me with a frown. He said,
last time you was paid up with me, you talked up no score. But I'll take your advance and I'll give you the chance to go to sea once more.
once more, once more, to go to sea once more. I'll take your advance and I'll give you the chance to go to sea once more. Sometimes we're catching whales, me lads, but mostly we get none. With a 20-foot oar in every paw from 5 o'clock in the morn. And when daylight's gone and the night's coming on, we rest upon our oars And oh boys, you wish that you was dead, or snug with the girls ashore. Ashore, ashore, or snug with the girls ashore. Oh boys, you wish that you was dead, or snug with the girls ashore. Come all you seafaring lads that listen to me song. When you go a big boating, boys, make sure you do not go wrong. You take my tip when you come off a trip, don't go with any horse, but get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more.